outlook. Today is Monday, 26th of May, 2025. So we check our fundamentals and we'll go over to the technicals to see what the market has in stock for the week. And don't forget that the month is actually ending this week. So this makes this week a very important one. Good morning, Grace. Sorry, Tunde. Yeah, morning, Grace. Then Tunde also good morning. Okay, so I'm on Forex Factory now. Let's quickly run through the important fundamental events for this week. Now, today, Monday, we have holiday from United Kingdom and United States. So that means we need to trade the dollar with a lot of caution. And later today by 3 p.m., 3:30 p.m., the European Central Bank Governor, President Lagarde, rather, will give a speech. So we really don't have any tradable fundamental event today. And even we have two banks, major banks being on holiday. So we need to trade, with a lot of caution today. Two things could happen. The market may just be in a range, or there might be erratic movement of prices in the market. So trade with a lot of caution. And tomorrow, Tuesday, we only have a medium impact event tomorrow. United States called durable good orders and durable good orders by 1:30 p.m. And 3 p.m. tomorrow, the CB consumer confidence. And later tomorrow by 5:20 p.m., the SMB chairman, Sledger, will give a speech. So tomorrow too, well, with a combination of three medium impact events, that will generate, some reasonable volatility. So we may have some volatility tomorrow, Tuesday. But on Wednesday, we should expect more volatility in the market because we have more news events and a lot of high impact events. So Wednesday morning by 2:30 a.m., there'll be CPI from Australia, and 3 a.m., there'll be official cash rate, RBNZ monetary policy statement, and RBNZ rate statement from New Zealand. So that's coming up by 3 a.m. That will lead to a lot of volatility on the New Zealand pairs. And those are the major events, except for the other speeches that will happen, in the day on Wednesday. And on Thursday, the key event on Thursday is going to be the prelim GDP quarterly and unemployment claims from the United States, which will come up by 1:30 p.m. And on Friday, the key event on Friday is going to be retail sales from Australia by 2:30 a.m. in the morning, and later in the day by 1:30 p.m. there'll be GDP from Canada, which will run simultaneously with the core PCE price index from the United States. So those are the key events on Friday. The beauty of fundamentals is that you can actually plan ahead, to trade this news event. So you have specific time, to take note of trading those events so that you don't need to sit down, watching your charts all day. All right, with that being said, let's go back to the technicals to see what this week really holds. Technically, there's a lot of uncertainty or instability or lack of clarity on a lot of instruments as a major instrument precisely as at this moment. But I believe as the week unfolds, we'll get better clarity as regards the major pairs. When I mean major pairs, I mean the dollar pairs. I'm still trying to see what the dollar is doing because we're not really getting so much clarity around the dollar. So I will not really be talking much about the dollar pairs, but there are other instruments and side currencies. There are indices that seem to have a very good high probability setup, which I'll talk about this morning. So I'll look first at the Euro AUD. Euro AUD is a major instrument of interest for this week. And I've been watching this instrument for some time. Now, if you look at the Euro AUD, as you can see on the screen, on the weekly time frame, the candle that closed last week closed as a rejection candle on the weekly time frame. In fact, before we go even to that, if we go to the monthly time frame, we'll clearly see that two rejection candles are formed, in the past, which already gave rise to a major resistance level as at the close of last month candle. This is the last month candle closing as a rejection candle on the monthly time frame, which technically means there will have been more of a bearish movement in the course of this month. So we have a major resistance level on the monthly time frame, which is an indication of a downtrend. So you can see that actually this month of May, there has been a lot of downward movement, on the Euro AUD. And that now leads us to last week where price closed, as a rejection candle, which technically means we should be getting ready for a bearish movement this week. And if we flip it down to the daily, this is what we have. Now, on the daily time frame, since there's a major rejection candle on the monthly time frame, it means we should, in the long term, expect some bearish movement. Now, I'm seeing what looks at the moment like the formation of a shoulder, a head, and a second shoulder, and which could lead to a bearish movement. Now, I'm not saying that the time for that long-term movement is here, but that's just showing you what I'm saying. As a technical trader, we analyze what we see. This is the pattern I'm seeing that is forming at the moment. So we are seeing a potential long-term bearish movement which is forming already on this instrument. Now, on the daily time frame also, we can clearly see the formation of a resistance level here, which is also an indication of a possible, bearish movement on this instrument, possibly this week. So with that, I'll flip down to the 4-hour time frame. And on 4-hour, what I can see at the moment, I can see a trend line over there and a second one at the back here to form a rising wedge pattern. And this also is a bearish, pattern. So everything I'm seeing around this instrument is pointing me towards, a bearish direction. In fact, if I want to take it a step further, I also can clearly see a descending trend line here, which is going to push price downwards. So I have a lot of confluences around this instrument, to warrant a view of a bearish movement this week. In fact, this one is a high probability bearish setup. Now, currently, RSI, which is one of our confirmation tools, is clearly below 50. I would rather wait for MACD to cross below zero on this one, and also a clear candle breaking out below this recent low. If all that happens, then I will comfortably be able to place a sell on the Euro AUD. So I'm bearish on the Euro AUD for this week. And also I'm bearish on the GBP card. This is equally another instrument I have my eyes on for this week. Why am I bearish on the GBP card? On the weekly time frame, we can clearly see that the last week candle closed as a rejection candle right there on the weekly time frame. And not only that, it also closed at a major resistance level. So we have a rejection candle at a resistance level on the weekly time frame. Again, a closer look at this pattern here shows me the possible formation of a double top pattern, which also may lead to a downward movement on the GBP card. So this is also giving me an insight into a possible market reversal, aside the fact that price hit a resistance with a rejection candle. Now, if I flip down to the daily time frame again, I'm not really seeing much here except the fact that in the last like 5 days, price has been ranging with this rejection candles. That's just a range. It means price has not been able to break out above, but just hanging around this key level over there on the daily time frame. And when you have price range on the spot for a period, usually what happens most of the time is a reversal often is imminent in most instances. So I'll take it down again to 4-hour time frame. And on 4-hour, this is what I can see. I can see a trend line right here and a second trend line at the back, giving us again a rising wedge pattern. So in the course of the week, I'll be waiting for price to clearly break out below this level to trigger a sell on the GBP card with RSI clearly below 50. Currently, RSI is at 51, it's still above 50. But then if it crosses below 50, that's a further confirmation. Also, probably MACD below zero can also give further confirmation. Now, we should also note that recently a new low was reached here where a new minor support, was also formed. So I want to see a new candle break out below the trend line and below this support zone, to trigger a sell on GBP card. So I'm bearish on GBP card. And next I'll look at is the NAS 100. NASDAQ is a very, very good, index to trade. And let me remove all these lines I've drawn and start afresh. All right. So on the daily time frame, on this Nasdaq, there is price moving from a previous support to a current support zone. All right, we have a support, value support here. Price hit support, broke out, came down again to the support. Next wave of movement will be a bullish movement. And you can see that already with today's candle being green already. So that's, quite in line with what we are seeing. If I take this to the 1 hour time frame, this is just it. We can draw our trend line right here and have a second one at the back. And honestly, we're just at the verge of a major breakout on NAS 100. Now, there are two sides to this. There's a 4-hour angle to it, and there's a 1-hour angle to it. I think I'll just need to take it first from the 4-hour angle. Now, from the 4-hour angle, we will not ignore this minor resistance that we're seeing at this spot. Okay, let me push it up a little. All right. There is actually a resistance here. So price is very close to that resistance. If it's unable to break that resistance, we'll see it to retrace and now break out. And if that is what will happen, that will give us an inverse head and shoulder pattern, which is just in line for a bullish breakout. That's what is obtainable. I think we should just leave it at that on the 4-hour. Let's wait. Except if price is able to make its break above this level, yes, we can trigger a buy. Otherwise, I want us to wait for a test, a retracement, then a breakout. So we're bullish on NAS 100 on 4-hour, and even on 1 hour, it is still going to be the same thing. If it forms the inverse head and shoulder pattern, it will still be, the same thing. The difference will just be the time frame you want to make your entry. This is what I'm saying. It's still going to be the same thing. It's still going to be an inverse head and shoulder and a breakout. Because we want to be careful. If you trigger a buy now and price hits here, if it's unable to break, then we'll have a retracement before the final breakout. So let's just wait, except we see a clear break above this level. Yes, you can trigger a buy above that. Otherwise, wait for the formation of the inverse head and shoulder. And when it breaks the neckline, you can also trigger a buy. And if you trigger a buy on this one, the first profit level should just be this resistance level here. That should be your first profit level. And let me say your first guaranteed level. Any other one can be at your discretion, but that should be your first major guaranteed level. And price could move as much as about 180 pips, in that direction. So yeah, day trader, I'll give you something to watch out for. Let's see as this goes in the course of today. All right, so DG30, which is still another index close to the NAS 100, is having similar pattern. So I will advise you pick one, maybe the one that breaks out first. Out of the two of them, you can take. I wouldn't encourage you do both because the pattern is very, very similar. Very, very similar. Now for the DJ30, the structure is more of a previous resistance here turn support on the daily time frame. Okay, there was something I missed out on the DJ30, which I'll correct with this one. There's also a trend line movement here that acts as a further confirmation. Yeah, you can see price making higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and here we have it again. So you can also clearly see here that on the 4-hour, this is also having the same kind of outlook as what we saw on the NAS 100. Inverse head, possibly a draw for a shoulder and a breakout. So we'll trade it with caution while taking note of the current level as the neckline, which can be taken also as a resistance at the moment. So we want to see a clear breakout above this level Either directly now, a new candle opens above it and we can trigger a buy, or we see a retest and a breakout. So either ways, and this works both for both. I mean, it works for both the 1 hour and 4 hour. If you take it down to the 1 hour, it's still very much the same thing. My chart is not loading fast on 1 hour. Let's go back. Okay, good. So you can see that price is there. So if a new candle opens above this level, yes, we can trigger a buy. Otherwise, we want to wait for a retracement, then a breakout. So at that time, we'll have a perfect inverse head and shoulder pattern. So we're bullish on both NAS 100 and DJ30. And I'll also be looking at, I've given you a GBP card. The other one too is the GBP pair, and that is a GBP AUD, whichever one triggers falls between it and the GBP card, you are good to go. And this is the GBP AUD. You can see we have a resistance level, a descending trend line, and a rising wedge. Price is just testing the support zone here. Once a new candle also breaks out below here, it will be a time to trigger a sell on the GBP AUD. All right, so that's going to be all from my end this morning. I'll do a little recap of all I've said. For those just joining us, I want to welcome you today. This is PU Prime, and we are having our morning analysis. Not just morning analysis, what we actually have on Mondays is weekly market outlook, giving you direction for what to expect in the market for the week. Now, today we are bearish on the Euro AUD on 4 hour. We are also bearish on GBP card on 4 hour. And for NAS 100 and DJ30, we are bullish on 1 hour and 4 hour for both of them. We're bullish. And on GBP AUD, we are bearish on 4 hour. So that's my outlook in summary for the week. All right, so that's going to be all from my end. If you have a question, you have a specific instrument you want me to analyze, you can go ahead and drop it in the comment section. I'll pick it up and analyze for you. All right, Miss Oyelowo, I don't know whether male or female. Good morning. You're asking about Eurocard. So let's check Eurocard. Eurocard is one of the instruments I'm looking out for a long-term breakout. So will it happen this week? Well, we'll get to know. Now, this is my outlook. I hold a long-term bearish outlook on the Eurocard. And I purposely, there are some instruments I don't talk about because maybe it's not yet time for us to take a trade on it, so that I wouldn't just say it ahead and it may take longer before it matures. But I've been watching Eurocard for quite some time, for some weeks now, and this is my outlook since you asked. Now you can see that we have last month closing as a rejection candle on the monthly time frame, and not only that, we also have a resistance on that same monthly time frame. Technically, this is an indication of a long-term bearish movement on this instrument. So in the long term, I just hold a bearish outlook on the Euro card. If you take it down to the weekly time frame, what I'm seeing here at the moment is a formation of what looks a lot like a head and shoulder pattern, which will lead to a bearish movement also. Now, it's very much in line. If you have a rejection candle and resistance on the monthly, we have a head and shoulder on the weekly. Both of them will eventually culminate into a massive bearish breakout on that instrument. And if you take it down to the daily, and you can also see as a confirmation of a bearish movement. Last week also closed. Last week candle closed as a rejection candle. So that's telling us of a potential weakness on this instrument. If you take it down to the daily time frame, this is where we are at the moment. You can see the head and shoulder really showing up clearer on the daily time frame. So this is where we are at the moment on the Euro card. This region here will be the neckline region. All right. So if price is able to break out below this neckline region, then we're going to have a blast. Price is going to move fast downwards, and that could generate potentially shoulder, head, second shoulder, and a breakout down. Now, the length of my arrow is not suggesting that price will get to that level. I'm only showing direction. And we could have, this is Fibonacci 38.6. So Fibonacci 50 can give us about the 155 pips, Fibonacci 1.8 about 300 pips, and Fibonacci 78.6 about 500 pips on the average. So if you want to trade these instruments, for the person asking, I will advise you look only for bearish movement. That is a long-term movement on this instrument. And most importantly, if price can break out below this level, possibly this week, that would trigger that long term. Now, I don't know whether it's going to happen this week or not, but this is the general outlook I have of this instrument. I'm only waiting for a breakout below that lower trend line, which is a neckline, to trigger a long term, movement. Anything can still happen on this daily time frame. Price may go up before coming down. It can do all sorts of things around there. But once there is a breakout below that trend line, then we have the long-term movement. So I'm bearish on the Euro card. You're welcome. All right. Next person is asking, good morning. Hey, Mr. Danielson, good morning. It's been some time. You're welcome on board. All right. Joshua Corey, gold. Like I said, I'm being cautious with anything that has to do with dollar because the dollar is not still so clear at the moment. But I'll just give you a general outlook on gold. I don't know, it may change in the course of the week if the dollar changes direction also. Gold has experienced some bullish movements in recent times from my analysis about 2 weeks ago, where I saw an uptrend with resistance turn support, and that has driven price, to the current level that it is. Now you can see I've drawn a trend line up there, which could drive price, but I'm not still getting a further confluence, for price to be driven downwards. And that's why I'm being cautious around gold. It all depends on what happens this week. If there is geopolitical tension or the dollar is either weak or strong, that will contribute immensely to the next direction of gold. So what I can say at the moment is we have a descending trend line that is valid. We have a rising wedge pattern that is equally valid, but it will have given us more clarity if we have possibly a resistance, to give us clarity of price dropping downwards, but we don't have that. So since we don't have that, price could actually move in any direction. Price could break out, retest, and continue. That's a possibility, and price could move downwards. So like I said earlier, we need to exercise some patience and know exactly where the dollar is going, and that can give us a clearer insight also into what gold is about to do for the week. Same thing for Euro USD, all the dollar-based instrument, GP USD, they are still in that zone where we don't have much clarity at the moment. So I will encourage you to trade them with caution. And don't also forget that today there is holiday from United Kingdom, there is holiday from the Eurozone. So anything dollar, please be very cautious with it today. Now for BTC USD, that's for Mr. Gabriel. For me, I'm expecting the possibility of a reversal, though further confirmations, will be needed. But let me show you my outlook on the BTC USD. Now, on the weekly time frame, we can see that price hits its highest point ever, last week, with price getting as high as $111,000 per Bitcoin. That's the highest point. 111711, that's the highest, so far. But then on a closer look, if I zoom the chart, I can also see clearly that we have a trend line here, and price is just touching the upper part of that trend line. So as price has been making a series of higher highs here, on touching this place, there was some reversal. On touching the fourth level here, some reversal. So price touching and closing on this level on the weekly time frame, also with a rejection candle that closed. Okay, that was 2 weeks ago. We should also technically expect some kind of retracement. May not really be a reversal. There should be some kind of retracement purely from a technical perspective. Okay, it was last week candle that closed, as a rejection candle on this trend line. Technically, we should expect some kind of retracement on this instrument in the course of this week. And in addition to that, if we flip down to the daily time frame, you can clearly see that this candlestick pattern here is a tweezer top pattern, which is a bearish reversal candlestick pattern. That also is an indication of the possibility of weakness, because it means that price has become overbought and sellers are putting a lot of bearish pressure, on the market. That can also lead to some retracement. It may not be a reversal like I'm emphasizing, it can lead to some retracement on this instrument. So I can draw my trend line likewise, reduce the daily time frame, drawing my trend line, and I can see the formation of a clear cut rising wedge pattern. So this is where we are at the moment. Uh, we have trend line on the monthly time frame with rejection candle. We have a tweezer top pattern on daily time frame. Now on 4 hour we have rising wedge, and this also I could take this as a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder, and I might be looking out for a bearish breakout. So all things being equal, if price is able to make a clear break below this support level here, if a new candle opens below it, then that will trigger some bearish movement on BTC in the course of this week, all things being equal. Otherwise, if price goes higher, well, we may have some short-term bullish movements to hit the trend line on the upper side there. But I look more towards the bearish, movement. And that will happen if price is able to have some reversal and break out below that lower side. So I hold on to more of the bearish outlook. Let's just see how the week turns out, but then that's just what I'm seeing on the charts at the moment. All right. And if there's any other, like I said, I will not be attending to anything dollar. Dollar is not clear at the moment. So all the requests on USD CAD, AED, USD, USD, pardon, we won't be attending to them until we get clarity, on what is happening to the dollar. All right, so I think I've attended to all the requests we have here this morning. Don't forget, we have weekly training sessions at our offices, physical training sessions at both the Abuja office and the Lagos office on Tuesdays and Thursdays every week. Time for the Abuja office training tomorrow, Tuesday, is 10:30 a.m., while Lagos takes off by 11 a.m. The venue for the Abuja office is Work and Connect Building, 50 B2 Ukiwe Street, Jabi, Abuja, and the address for Lagos office is Lagos Executive Lounge, 54B Adeniyi Jones Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos. Don't forget the 5X program is on. If you're not yet on board, you're missing a lot. Reach out to your account manager. Simply what this program is all about is that we have a specialized signal group where a lot more signals are being dropped, to grow your account from its present condition to times 5 of what you have. Now, we are not putting a time frame to it. It's over a period of time. We ended up last week profitably. So we add profits and we're looking up to more profits in the course of this week. Now, this is aimed at assisting our clients to become profitable, with their trades. So if you want to join this is completely different from the previous Signal group. So if you want to join this program, reach out to your account manager. They will guide you on the steps to take to be a part of the 5X group. All right, so with that, we've come to the end of today's morning analysis. Do trade safe and have a blessed week ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you, son. Bye bye.
You too, man.